So what we're going to try to do today, and I encourage you guys, if you hear something you like, if you agree with a point, we're asking for a little rowdy participation. You can clap, you can cheer, do a little woohoo, whatever you want to do to agree. If you don't hear something you like, I don't know, is booing okay? Sure. All right, you can boo, you can be thumbs down, all that fun stuff. So today we are doing the best debate of the year. I'll let you guys decide, and maybe by the end of the debate you'll switch sides. Maybe you'll say, maybe I should have built it from scratch, or maybe you'll say, oh no, definitely build is the right way to go. So we have two debaters here today. Let's start out with AJ. AJ is representing our buy side. And so AJ has a long experience in the industry, not as long as Ralph, though, maybe? Yeah. How many decades you got, 2? Okay. So AJ is a veteran in construction space. He's also led a lot of teams to actually help selecting software, choosing software, helping to roll it out, and then eventually he came over to the dark side of consulting. And decided to work with Kahua, where he serves as someone who helps people to understand what they would like to do with their software. Ralph, 2 decades in the industry, no stranger, built and helped grow multiple SaaS solutions. And SaaS solutions, if you guys haven't heard of that, software is the solution. So sometimes we see a little flexibility with there on what you can build using a platform or low code. So we have both sides represented well today. And I'll go ahead and kick it off with AJ, if you want to begin with your side.
All right. Thank you, Cari. And good morning, everyone. As mentioned, my name is AJ Waters, Chief Evangelist at Kahua. And in my background, for the last 10 years now, I've kind of worked with different companies to make this decision. Should I buy or should I build? Obviously, I was representing the buy side for those 10 years because prior to that, I worked for a company called Kaivolve. Some of you might be familiar with them. After building it from scratch twice, we finally made the decision to buy. And so I went through that process a couple of different times, and that's what led me to some of these points today. So first and foremost, the reason you buy software off the shelf is out-of-the-box software is ready on day one. It's lower cost, it's quicker to implement, and it's very easy to use. And speaking of easy to use, they build in the best practices, right? So like the point of the software as a service is they went out and they did all the research themselves. You don't have to do that research to find what the best practices are, build it into the system, and make it intuitive so that the user kind of knows how they're going to click through, make their next move, and where this process is supposed to go. With that, though, they also do this little thing called training. I don't know if you are familiar with training, but when you build the software yourself, that means you build the training yourself, too. And that was a nightmare the first time we had to build software from nothing at Kiewit. And so that was actually my main role, was to lead the training team that rolled all that stuff out. And it's a lot more work than people give it credit for. But the last thing I'll say before letting Ralph try to rot your brains is that when it's off-the-shelf commercial software, it's already built with maintenance, with testing, and with scalability. And a lot of times the homegrown solution, again, you're the tester. Good luck with that. You are the maintenance team. Every bug that comes in, they're calling you. And last but not least, as your company grows, so does the hardware that supports your software. So those reasons right there are exactly why you need to buy off the shelf.
All right, good points. Anybody? No? Boo. All right. So very good points, AJ. Ralph, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Cari, and thank you, AJ, for setting me up so well this morning. Everybody, my name's Ralph Barsi. I'm a huge fan of building it in-house. My friend AJ over here, very handsome guy, very nice guy, looks good. He's got a full head of hair. I don't. He's wrong. Everything he's saying is wrong. In fact, everybody in their respective organizations wants to do 3 of many things. One is they're aiming for cost efficiency. The second is they want to streamline their processes. And the third is they want to have a competitive edge. Now, I've been speaking to colleagues for many years, and a lot of colleagues who have bought software have told me, hey, look, we were sold a bill of goods, a couple years ago, and the off-the-shelf solution apparently was the way to go. But we came to the realization that no matter how out of the box or off the shelf a software offering is, they do not know our business. We know our business better than anybody else. So I have a couple notes here just from my experience of building in-house that I think AJ over here really needs to hear, all right? So in many cases, this system of industry best practices that we all hear about always ignores some of the industry fundamental construction 101 terms. Things like change orders, back charges, production factors were foreign to a solution built by technologists, people who are focused on software versus our business. And in order to find something that would keep our competitive edge, we found out really quickly that we had to do it ourselves. I mean, let's face it, you're never gonna have all the requirements outlined for a technology purchase the very first time. Building your own software makes it easy to make changes whenever you want. So for example, if you missed a step in a particular process, just add it in. If you decided you wanted to automate an additional workflow without a significant upcharge from a vendor, go ahead and build it out. Decided you spent over 2 years building out a solution, which is right about what it takes to implement software a lot of these days. You heard what AJ said about training. Once you implement a software application, it takes months, if not years, to train all the users on that software application, especially at scale. So you see, there are some very specific ways that we do things and that the way we've done things, and they've always been done that way.
Always done that way.
That's right.
Most dangerous phrase in business, according to my friend at Forbes.
Hey, look, let me finish, all right? We're talking about an incredibly successful, incredibly profitable contractor. Obviously, doing things our way was a driving factor to our success. I mean, buying software that was off the shelf and used by all of our competitors wasn't going to protect our edge. No, that was going to bring us backwards in terms of processes. We had our standard operating procedures, and that's what we were going to build. Couple that with a plethora of resources, and you have a win-win for continued profitability and success.
Listen here, Mr. Bezos. Not everybody has unlimited dollars and resources to go to the moon whenever they want.
All right. Ralph, you started out by saying that AJ was completely wrong.
That's right.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Well, sure. I mean, construction gets a bad rap. There's an old meme that I know of that has a dinghy called original contract, right? And it's tied to a yacht called change order. Software companies make us look like novices in extending implementations. And when was the last time one size actually fit all anyway? Out-of-the-box processes inherently assume everyone works exactly the same way. I can't remember the last time 2 projects handled a change order the same way, let alone entire companies.
Maybe that's why there's the meme.
Right, because it definitely doesn't come from asking a software vendor for a new feature. The second we run into something, AJ, that isn't quite as intuitive as they say or doesn't quite complete a process, we have to load our request into a feature queue, and we wait, and then we hear that it's not really a priority for other customers. I might as well go stand in line at the DMV.
All right, okay. Ralph, I think you've had your turn. AJ, would you like to rebuttal that?
Yeah, I would. Now that Ralph has spoke half our time, it's interesting because one software implementation experience is what he's going off of. That's where he builds his "wow, this was horrible" experience. But what he's not taking into account is when you build the software yourself, tell me, how many UI UX classes have you taken? Where do you put the action button? What's the difference between return and enter?
Okay, well, there's exactly my point. What is the difference between enter and return?
Well, you should know this because you're older than me, but the return key was because it was a keyboard on a typewriter, and it returned you to the other side. Once it became more of an action button on a computer, they changed the name to enter. See, these are the things that building it yourself doesn't quite understand because software people know things. And this continued tweaking and just kind of adjusting a feature, if you will. Remember the training part? Every time you tweak, you mess up some person on the other end that went, wait, where'd my button go? Why didn't it do what it did last week? Every little tweak matters. And this is my favorite one. My favorite one's the trade secrets one. Because there are secret sauces that make contractors great, but it's not in how they view documents. It's not in how they look at numbers. It's in the people and the actions and the leadership. The secret sauce is in the numbers they've created, not how they look at them. So while all of these little things that you might want to tweak could be configured in some softwares, building it yourself and trying to keep doing that over and over and over is going to get you into trouble.
Look, there's nothing standard about how we do business.
Well,
All right? I mean, sure, it would be great to be able to share resources across projects with processes and procedures that were repeatable, but we'd need a solution that streamlined these processes to support an initiative like that. Of course, standards like this could decrease time to ROI and increase efficiency, but would it be worth the trade-off?
it's worth the trade-off if you can connect the missing links. If you can do a little bit of those configurations and get to the point where the system is, at least for you. Yeah, not all systems are for everyone, but enough little tweaks, it'll be right.
Sure, but to do that, you'd have to be constantly tweaking and updating your user training and guidelines. I mean, there would need to be certain core aspects of the system that didn't change, like a common user experience and an intuitive interface. The more you look to build or change, the more important it is to keep things familiar to the end user. I mean, there's no room for clunky screens that are hard to navigate or siloed systems that look nothing like the other.
Wait. Are you still talking about building here?
Well, but I mean, let's step back. It's got to be familiar to you as a company, right? You need it to be familiar because when it's familiar, it's quicker learning. So if you can make those little tweaks, you can get to a point where you learn it faster, right?
Okay, and weren't you supposed to be representing the buy side right now?
Yeah, AJ, as you can clearly see, the correct solution to the problem of digital transformation in construction is to buy a system that is off the shelf and build around industry best practices.
No, I think you're wrong on that point. I really think if you're going to be nimble and you're going to move quickly, you have to build it yourself. You got to be able to make the adjustments on the fly.
You guys, you cannot just switch sides in a debate. I'm just saying, you can't just flip like that.
Come on.
It happens all the time.
Help us out, Cari.
All right, well, I actually want to share a little bit about my experience. First off, can we hear it for build versus buy? Yeah?
You're too kind.
What I would like to touch on, and for the raise of hands of folks that have actually been through this, my question is, how much did business process come into play when you were gathering requirements? A lot, little, a lot, right? So what we do is we work with a lot of different softwares. Kahua is one of the first that we, I'd say, why can't we have both? There's a lot of softwares out in the marketplace that are really quick. You can have them day one, but then what happens is day one you already want to change it, right? And I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but I was looking for a app on how to manage my to-do list. And we all have smartphones. Most of us have smartphones now. And haven't you ever wondered, why can't my software implementations just work like the apps on my phone? I download it, and then it works. I went through this experience where I downloaded one right off the shelf, didn't quite work the way I wanted it to, downloaded another one, didn't work quite the way I wanted it to, and then I downloaded a third, and I was like, I should just go into app development and build it. And I don't know if you guys have had that experience when you bought things off the shelf, but almost day one you want to say, but that's not what we call it. We want to tweak it slightly. And so understanding how you all do business and how you'd like to do business and do it in a similar fashion, for me, tends to be the biggest debate of all. So once you do that, then you can figure out build versus buy, but why not get a software that does both? Yeah. Right?
Exactly.
So, and I'm curious, for the people that built off the shelf, raise the hands, day one, did it work the way you wanted it to? All right, so did you guys end up tweaking it anyway? A little bit? Or depending on the software you bought, maybe you tweaked, maybe you didn't. A little adjustment there. So what we like to talk about when we talk about software is the walk, crawl, run. And first off, there's a lot of conversations around out of the box, configuration, customization, building it from scratch. And we've heard a lot of really great points on both sides today. What I would say is it doesn't matter which one. Okay, you guys close your ears for a second. We work with a lot of different softwares. They say, what is the best project management system? And I say the one that you can start using tomorrow. So being able to use that off the shelf is really important, because a lot of times when you're going to pick a software, you're solving a business problem, right? The quicker we solve that business problem, the quicker we can get to getting better dashboards, getting better information, having better controls around our projects. But when you are ready, you start using it and you say, hey, there's some things we want to tweak. Now the configuration comes into play. I heard an astounding statistic. Gartner said 70% of all software this year will start to be developed on low code. So as an industry, we're shifting. This whole build versus buy, it's archaic. We're all going to be shifting to low code where we can have the best of all these worlds. And that's what I think, now you can open your ears. One of the things that I've loved and I am a partner of Kahua, about 4 years ago, we went back into the marketplace and we said, what does the PMIS marketplace look like right now? Because we help clients, and we want to make sure we're investing in the right software. And so what I loved about this, I used to have this conversation where I would say, okay, but how much do you want it to match your business process versus a quick stand-up? And we would kind of do this back and forth scale of, oh, well, if you want really a quick stand-up, I would recommend this software. If you want a lot of customization, I would recommend that software. And then the aha moment for us that we were implementing for a transit agency that's tunneling under San Francisco Financial District. And they knew their business process, and we had them standing up within 60 days. However, they changed their delivery model. They're now exploring P3, and we were actually able to go back in and help them change that to match their new delivery model. So having the right software is important when you have flexibility and you need that flexibility. The development bottleneck, I just want to talk about that because share a little story. I also did help a customer build software from scratch using, anybody remember Access databases? Yes. That was our big, powerful tool for non-developers back in the day, the folks of us that didn't develop software, but we still wanted flexibility. So I went through some of that pain of the DIY, which is you are building from scratch, the cost efficiency of actually, yes, you get exactly what you want, but then what? You have to upgrade, you have to do all these other things. And I actually helped that same client 12 years later move to an off-the-shelf software. So it's that thing of knowing who you are as an organization, what you want to do, what your processes are, and then picking something that can be flexible. Also, because I am a partner, I'll talk about the ecosystem of partners. One of the things that I really like about working with Kahua for my clients is that they don't have to depend on me. Kahua has a lot of partners that are out there. They can do different things, specialize in different things, and that's a good thing, right? We don't want to have a software that you have to have a contract with a certain implementer for 10 years in order to make it work for you. There's a lot of different folks that you can reach out with. Most of the projects, we have 2 or 3 Kahua partners on average.
Yeah, and for people who aren't familiar with platform as a service, I like to liken it to your phone, right? You don't have to wait for Apple to develop the next app. they're constantly being developed by that ecosystem of partners. Yep.
Yep, yep. And then, of course, you can always go direct, right? You can always go direct to Kahua. Kahua has that capability as well. You want to talk about security, Ralph?
It's critical, as we all know. One thing that you get the benefit of when you're not building it yourself and you are leveraging software vendors and the ecosystem of partners that Cari and AJ were just talking about is you get the reliability, you get the compliance that's necessary with the highest standards. For example, if you're part of a FedRAMP environment, all that heavy lifting and upfront work has been done by that software vendor and by that ecosystem of partners, so that you have that peace of mind now going into a relationship and into a new approach, knowing that everything is locked down, for lack of a better term. But if security is not a priority of yours, of course, I can't encourage you enough to be thinking about it a lot more. And I do know that we have a panel this afternoon, I think it's around 2 or 2:30, specifically centered on cybersecurity that I'd encourage you to take a listen to. But yeah, security is critical, and I can't emphasize that enough.
All right. So I'm just curious, did we switch anybody? Is anybody really into build now? The one person? Sorry. Anybody into buy? Oh, who wants the blend? Who wants it all? Nobody. Okay, just kidding.
Well, I think if I may, I think a key point was made in the panel just previous to ours, and it's the concept of beginning with the end in mind.
Yep.
You know, whether you're leveraging software vendors and partners or whether you're doing it yourself, if you don't know what the end game looks like, it's just going to be an uphill climb. It's going to be a tumultuous process for everybody. So leverage the resources that exist, that have done this before and have run into similar scenarios in terms of the challenges that you're facing today, and help, let those resources help you in terms of prepping the page, knowing how many phases this project might have, what the key milestones are going to be, when it's going to come to completion, et cetera, and let others do the heavy lifting. Help us help you by beginning with the end in mind.
And to double down on what the panel before us said, it is a people business first. And at the end of the day, the people pushing the buttons are the ones that are going to be dealing with what you select more than anyone else. And so often we've seen selections be made off of the pretty dashboards or the pretty reports that get generated, because
but we want those too, right?
Well, yeah, you want those too, because that's what the executives are looking at. But knowing how hard it was to make that is critical, because we used to walk into demos, and we'd sit down with someone and we'd show them the exact dashboard that they wanted. And they were like, that's cool. I already get that dashboard. And that's where we turn to one of their button pushers in the room and go, how long did you tell us it takes to make that dashboard? And that person would go, well, it takes me anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, depending on how much data I have to track down to populate the spreadsheets that create that dashboard. And we turn back and say, it's live as they push the buttons in our system. Like, that's the difference when you get to some of those. So it is a people business first, and at the end of the day, the folks pushing the buttons are vitally important. That's why the business process step is a part of the debate up front.
But to be continued, maybe next year. That'll be the next great debate. Okay, so round of applause. Was this the best debate you heard this year, or the best debate that you heard this year? Just curious. All right. And without further ado, 1 minute early. Here we go. So
You've all been generous with your time. Thanks for listening to us today.